do. Jonesy, I mean, what did you make of it last night? It was obviously we'll go into in detail as usual, but sort of straight off of the bat, just to welcome everyone back to, or welcome me back. Then the deadly duo, the deadly trio, as it is now, are back. Yeah, what did you make of the game?
I will let you boys and our listeners into a secret. When the third goal went in, I genuinely had a tear in my eye, and Lucy, sitting next to me, went, "Are you crying?" And I was like, Luce, I genuinely cannot tell you how happy I am at watching this. I've not been this happy watching West Ham for years, and it's just, I'd had tears in my eyes, and I think it's because the 3 goals that we scored were just so good. So good. Every single one of them was class. And like even when we went 3 up against Arsenal, like just like 3, like Lingard's was good, but 3 relatively bog standard goals. And then you just get 3 world class goals. And it hit me over the edge, and I was a blubbering mess on the sofa for about 5 minutes. I was like, I can't believe it. But yeah,
you would have been crying a damn sight more if they'd got back to 3-3, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have been crying with anger, but yeah, it was just class, the whole thing. I mean, when then Duncan got that header, it was like, here we go again. You were already at 3-0, I think, weren't you? Going in the WhatsApp group, going, I might have a tenner on Wolves. But yeah, just out of this world. And I don't think I've stopped watching Lingard's first goal and looking at I haven't gone 5 minutes without looking at the league table all day today. So yeah, long may this continue, boys.
Yeah, it was brilliant stuff, wasn't it, Tom? Lionel Jesse, Tom, what a man. He really, really is. I mean, he was, I remember I was one of the underwhelmed ones when we signed him, just thinking, he's been out in the sort of football wilderness for a while, not really getting a shout at Manchester United. Yeah, again, glad to eat that humble pie for sure. He's been wonderful. And last night, I know his goal was spectacular, of course, but he was involved, of course, in the others. His all-round gameplay, I just thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I'd argue, I don't know what you think, Tom, that was the best game he's played for us.
Yeah, I think that, or Villa, there's so many times he's turned up, and it's his leadership in games like that, particularly when we didn't have Rice and Antonio then gets hooked off with that injury. We rely on him so much, and everything goes through him. Anything good that happens, he's heavily involved in. And just to see him take a game like that by the scruff of the neck in the first 15 minutes, first half, there's a highlight package going around on Twitter today, and it's actually a joke. Like this performance in his first half, every single touch he made is pure class. Don't think he gave the ball away once. Everything went through him. It was just a sublime display. In the first 45 minutes, I can't remember a West Ham side ever playing better or looking more likely to score at every God-given moment. We just looked superb, and it did all come through him. And as much as I was happy that he came in, there's not a single chance in hell I thought he'd put up these numbers. They're a joke, and I don't think anyone could have envisaged this. And I tweeted it this morning and yesterday probably about 15 times, but I don't remember a West Ham player playing better for 8 games in an 8-game stretch ever in my life. 6 goals, 3 assists and 2 pens won. It speaks for itself. He's unbelievable. Long live Jesse Lingard.
I saw that tweet, Tom, and Demba Ba is the last player I can remember who had an impact after signing in January. Obviously, we didn't stay up, but I think he scored like 9 goals in 12 games or something like that. But you're right. Yeah. Other than that, I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, I did. I don't know why, Tom. I don't know if you were tweeting more than usual, were you? But my timeline was quite full with Tom Edwards' tweets since the game. I was loving it, mate. Nothing too out there. There was a bit of it was quite your usual calamitous end of the world Armageddon stuff before the game, wasn't it? When Declan Rice was
that was about as bad as it gets.
Yeah. I think you definitely hit Twitter rock bottom there, didn't you? But no, brilliant to see your online bipolar, as I think it's been officially diagnosed as, come back after the game. When delighted to see it happen. Look, lads, we'll go into it in a bit more detail as we usually would, but I think you'd have definitely taken 4 points from Arsenal and Wolves. Great to score 6 goals as well. There are negatives to be sort of taken, of course, especially after the Arsenal game. That was an anger-inducing one, but as you've said, James, just to bounce back like that as we've done regularly this season, it is the sign of a big team and the better team that we have become. Tom, just quickly before we go into it in part 2 in a little bit more detail, there's lots to talk about tonight. What's your we've mentioned already the Declan Rice injury, Mark Noble. There was a lot of nervousness before the game about whether or not he should even play, and should Connor Coventry be given a chance instead. There's the Lingard performance. What's your sort of what's the thing that's been dominating your thoughts sort of since the game, mainly, like the main talking point, if there's one?
Since the game, as much as this is a day for positivity and the squad proved that we are superb and we've got enough to win football games, for me, I've been waking up and I've been worried about the Antonio one in particular and his health going forward. I mean, Rice is superb and he's not more or less important than Antonio, but we do have Noble's experience and he can get through 7-8 games a season, and it's 4 or 5 likely with Rice, isn't it? But without Antonio, it means that Lingard's got to change position. Bowen's got to have new responsibilities. It sort of affects the fabric of the side in terms of the way we set up a little bit more and the way we hit teams on the counter. And I just worry about his health going forward. I think you saw that 30 minutes. He was literally unplayable. I've never seen someone bully a centre-half quite the way he did to Cody. It was pretty disgraceful if you're looking at a Southgate, because it was a bullying job. And I think just him, what we'll miss from him going forward for me against Leicester and the big games coming up, I think is a worry. So I'm just hoping to hear some positive news on that, but can't be negative about anything else really.
Yeah, no. I was just wondering. Well, I agree with you, because it's easy to, when we win games like that, it's easy to gloss over some of the supposed negatives. And I think Moyes sort of mentioned it afterwards, didn't he? Alluded to conceding 5 goals in 2 games isn't that great either, and a stat that he's overly thrilled with. Jones, what's yours? What's your sort of main the thing out of all of the stuff we've got to talk about before we get Tom Clark on from Football.London to go into it in more detail? Is there one sort of standout thing for you that has been dominating your mind, either good or bad?
I mean, I agree with Tom in the Antonio thing, and we spoke about it in January, didn't we? Like this, it was always going to happen. It was going to happen at some point, and we should have at least got someone in that could deputise for him in that position. But we did mention briefly back in January that Bowen can do a job there, and within 4 minutes, less than that, of replacing Antonio, he found the back of the net with a great run to support Lingard. Lingard plays him in and he scores. And that's part. I'm thinking, well, maybe we're not going to have the strength and like the ability to bully a centre half like Antonio does and did at the first half an hour on Monday night, but Bowen can do a job there. He did it at Hull when he was playing up front for Hull, banging. I know it's the Championship, but he was banging goals left, right, and centre for them. And you just wonder whether, losing Antonio is a blow. Jarrod Bowen, I think, proved on Monday night that he can be, a worthwhile deputy while Antonio's getting back fit if he's out for a while. So maybe it's not panic stations as such, and maybe we probably need to put a little bit more faith into Bowen in terms of playing that role and delivering.
There you go. Well, look, we'll see. Like I say, we'll get into it in a load more detail. The thing that I'm thinking about just now is it's so important about signing Lingard. I just think, we've paid for the talk that Man United want 40 odd million for him. Well, we paid that sort of money for Felipe Anderson and Sebastian Haller. I know we recouped only 25 of Haller's, but that would be the most sensible 40 million I think any football club has ever spent ever. It's not like he's too old either, is he? He's still in like the prime years of his career, so to speak. So look, we'll get Tom Clark from Football.London's thoughts on that next, because in part 2 we'll have some more detailed reaction to that fantastic win at Wolves. I'm delighted to say that joining us for a debut on the We Are West Ham podcast, I've had a few of those in recent weeks. I'm delighted to welcome the Football.London West Ham correspondent, Tom Clark. Tom took over from Sam Ingersoll at the turn of the new year. Sam, obviously a regular guest on the podcast before he switched to the dark side of London, or the dark blue side of West London to be precise. But Tom, wonderful to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you on. First of many appearances, I hope. How have you found your new gig since you took over at the new year? Because you're obviously doing something right.
Cheers, lads. Yeah, it's nice to be on. Yeah, I mean, it's been brilliant taking over from Sam. Obviously, he did a cracking job, and then but the team have just I didn't see this coming, to be honest. Like as a football fan in general, I was following West Ham. I'd watched them earlier in the season and seen some good performances, some not so good performances. Definitely didn't see them going from 10th to 4th in the space of a few weeks of taking over. And just fingers crossed it keeps going. I'd love to be covering some Champions League football next season, and hopefully Sam will be down in the Europa Conference League or something.
yeah, exactly that. That would be quite the scout, wouldn't it? Quite the switch around. But Tom, I'm assuming of course you're at the Wolves game last night. One of the fortunate few. We were out the blocks like absolute lightning once again. Obviously, we all know it was a mirror image first half to what happened against Arsenal the week before. I saw a Twitter video you did. I don't know whether that was today or yesterday. It might have been straight after the game, actually, just sort of giving your thoughts about what it's like to actually be there. And I know you mentioned about Mark Noble. We'll ask you about that in more detail. But what's it been like being at the games? What have you found from the team that those of us watching from afar might not have been able to see?
And it's really weird, and I know everybody says it that they miss fans, but you do. Like, it is really, really strange without fans. And one of the things you pick up on is you can hear them. You can hear the players so clearly, and the managers. So you learn who the talkers are on the team, but you also hear what they're saying. And it's really funny at times because, I don't know, like as an amateur footballer, and I played a lot of amateur football, and it's so basic, the information you give to each other. You kind of think that Premier League players, that they're so much better than we ever are playing on our Sunday mornings, that they must actually, communicate better with each other. Nothing of the sort. It's the same stuff that we say to each other. It's box them in, lads. Box them in. It's like professional footballers, but that you're still shouting that at each other. It's really interesting to hear that side of it, and to hear who the talkers are. And I mean, the way West Ham started yesterday, like you say, it was so similar to the Arsenal game, but I think it was actually even better than the Arsenal game. Antonio was brilliant yesterday. It's like he went off after whatever it was, 35, 36 minutes, and got to really hope that isn't serious because he was brilliant yesterday. It's the best I've seen him play by an absolute mile. I've seen him come back from a couple of injuries, and he didn't look fit. The first game I covered in person was Stockport away, and that was his first game back after, I don't know, 5 or 6 games out, possibly longer. And there were a couple of times when the ball was played through to him, and you just think, fully fit, he'd get that, no problem. Like there's no way that the defender would have got back. And yesterday he was just not like physically fitter, like to look at, because he's a unit of a man anyway. But just he was just on it. That first shot that hit the post, he bullied the defence. The shot, actually, the last thing he did before he went down injured, he still had that shot, and he was the shot wasn't how he got injured. It was the run. It was the fighting for the ball, and hopefully it's just something minor. But he still got his shot off, and he was still through 3 players. He had no right to get through them and have that shot. And that was really good to see how that was the fittest and the best I've seen him play. It was only 36 minutes, but he was not like Bowen came on and did badly. He scored after 2 minutes, but Antonio, you got to hope that's not serious.
Tom, just on that, obviously you mentioned Bowen came on and he got his goal within, was it 3 minutes or something like that? Do you think that if Antonio's injury is, it means he's going to be out for 3 or 4 games? Do you think Bowen can do a job there? He's not going to be the strong, hold the ball up, physical presence that Antonio is, but he proved within 3 minutes that he can still make those clever runs in behind. Do you think that we should be putting probably a little bit more faith and trust into someone like Bowen?
Yeah, I think he'll have to do the job. So it's Moyes will get behind him and back him. He'll try and encourage him and that. And he also offers a little bit of flexibility because, like, later in the game, Lingard went through the middle and Bowen went to the right when it was 3-2 and they were just trying to see the game out, and it just became very much a 5-4-1. And also Lingard was getting a bit of cramp and tiring, so he was going to be wasted out on the wing, not being able to track back, and it was Adama Traore's wing as well. So you can't be having cramp when he's running at you, that's for sure. But I think, Bowen does give a little bit of flexibility. So maybe Lingard will go through the middle, but you don't really want to. I think he kind of needs that free role playing in behind. We saw it in the first half yesterday. The second half was a different game. It was different type of game. Wolves were coming at them a bit more. But yeah, I think Bowen will have to do that job because Mipo Udebeka, and I haven't seen him play for the under-23. So I can only base it on the slight. The few minutes that I've seen him play, he doesn't look ready for the first team, which kind of suggests that Bowen is pretty much the option there. I mean, you can juggle things around. You can maybe put Lingard there, and then Benrahma could come in and take Lingard's role. But I think it's Bowen. I think and Moyes has said it in a couple of press conferences before that Benrahma has done it for Hull, not a huge amount, but he did do it a bit for Hull, so he does know where the runs are. And I mean, Antonio is a converted wide man. Arnautovic is a converted wide man. So yeah, three. Why not go for a third time lucky?
Tom, another one of our wide men is Pablo Fornals, and he sort of goes under the radar from most West Ham fans. But I think we've always really appreciated him on this podcast. And yesterday, yet again, he showed what he's all about. How important do you think he is going forward, not only this season, but the following season? Because he looks like he's only getting better. Do you now think he's firmly in Moyes' head is our starting man on that side, at least?
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, and I think I see it as well. You see it on Twitter, and it seems a real like 50-50 of the fans who like him and the fans who don't. And I don't get it. I don't get why people don't like him. Okay, he's not.
We had this chat, James, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? And I think me and James said similar things, didn't we, James? Sorry to butt in, Tom, but I think they're more misgivings. It always feels like when he gets on the ball, everything all of a sudden seems to slow down a level, and it perhaps gets a little bit clunky and a little bit uncomfortable and awkward every now and then. Whereas I think perhaps because he's playing alongside players like Bowen and Lingard, particularly, who are pace and quite fluid with their movements, that it often seems like Fornals is playing at half a gear behind everyone else sometimes. But again, last night it absolutely made fools of anyone who has doubted him, because I thought he was phenomenal.
I think I understand where you're coming from there, and I think instead of concentrating on what he can't do, look at what he can do, because he's not as skillful as Benrahma. I mean, I covered Brentford a lot last season. I've seen a lot of side Benrahma. I love watching him, and I really hope he gets that goal soon. I think that'll do wonders for his confidence, and he will come good. He is a really good football player. He's more skillful than Fornals for sure, but he doesn't work as hard as him. He doesn't keep the ball as well as him. So it's kind of like Fornals is really good at, you say the easy pass, but it's not the easy pass. He was on the edge of his box with that flick last night. If that goes wrong, he gets hammered for that. That's showing some guts, but it's kind of like Jose Mourinho would say, like when Dele Alli does it. If it comes off and it's on the edge of your box, it's brilliant. Wonderful footballer. If he gives it away, he gets hammered for it. And Moyes probably wouldn't have come out and hammered him for it, but the fan base might have done. It was brave. Brave, stupid, very fine line. It was brave. It came off. Honestly, it could so easily have gone wrong, because that was Soufal's head. It was 20 yards out. When you see him do it, you see it live. It was a bit like risky, but then when it comes off and it just created space, brilliant. He keeps the ball well. He recycles it well. He's a tidy footballer, but he's not as dynamic as others. No, but I think he's won Moyes over for sure. I think he's a starter when fit. So he'd had a couple of games out, but Bowen was the one to miss out yesterday. Okay, obviously things changed a bit with Rice's injury, but Fornals was straight back in the team the minute he was fit enough to play. And had he been fit the week before against Arsenal and the game against Manchester United, no doubt he would have been in the team.
Yeah, he's certainly he's more effective, isn't he, against those bigger teams? Like you say, that work rate is all the more valuable against the bigger sides. One man who seems to have sort of fallen into obscurity somewhat at West Ham is Issa Diop. He sort of had a little bit of a resurgence on his recent run in the team, but there's no doubt whatsoever that Angelo Ogbonna has been the star man, and Craig Dawson, against all of the odds, has muscled his way into West Ham's number one centre back spot alongside Ogbonna. Diop, it seemed to me last night, and I don't know if I'm being harsh here, but looking at the goals, it seemed like he was at fault. He was a little way off of Dendoncker when that cross comes in, and it wasn't like the cross took a deflection or anything like that. He was streaking down the left Traore, so it was obvious what he was going to do, and he was a few yards off of his man. What do you make of him, and am I being a bit harsh there?
I certainly think he was at fault for the second goal. The first goal, sometimes you have to say the opposition. It was a good goal. I mean, it was a brilliant cross from Traore, because Noble tries to take him out on the halfway line and couldn't get close to him, which is that's nothing on Noble. That's Traore, because then Traore is away from Soufal and Lingard and Fornals. He just, I mean, he's probably I don't know if he is, but he's probably the fastest player in the Premier League. And one of my WhatsApp groups with a bunch of friends, it was they always talk about him having no end product, and then suddenly just got a load of messages like, oh, end product. He's suddenly got an end product. Brilliant cross that, and an absolutely thumping header from Dendoncker. So yeah, yes, Diop was off him, but sometimes you just say that cross was absolutely on the money. Second goal, absolutely, and Diop was Johnson had just come on. He'd only been on a couple of minutes or so, and Diop was. You could see when the ball was being played, he was signalling whether it was Creswell or Johnson he wanted to tuck in, but it was his man. He needed to.
Creswell had gone with the man, hadn't he? He'd gone with the ball, so it felt like he needed to come across cover.
Yeah, it was absolutely that was Diop's man, and one thing that I've noticed with Diop, and I found it really, really odd the first time I saw him play, was how much he needs constant communication from. It's normally Dawson is normally the one. Dawson is a very, very vocal player anyway. It's normally Dawson, but it's really like minute information, like stand here, do this. But then there was one time when Dawson had gone up for a corner or free kick, or something. It was a few games ago, and Diop he didn't know where to stand, and he looked over, and it was Kevin Nolan was on the side, and it was like 2 meters. He was telling him to move 2 meters, and like. You're 23, 24, whatever he is, you're a Premier League footballer. That kind of stuff is like a really athletic player, as he showed against Arsenal with a goal line clearance. And, he really wanted to have a run in the last minute of the game yesterday, but he's very athletic, and he's good at bringing the ball out like that. But there's little bits of his game that he needs people telling him what to do. And Ogbonna doesn't have that. Ogbonna comes straight back in the minute he's fit, and him and Dawson, Dawson is a good player, and like you say, it was a bit of a surprise how well he's done. He also looks a much better player when he's playing alongside Ogbonna than he does when he's alongside Diop.
Tom, the big story leading up to Monday's game was obviously Declan Rice's injury. And I mean, I think I put in our WhatsApp group, the podcast group, this is the end of the world as we know it. Because genuinely just thought, well, that's it then. If Declan Rice is out for a few games, we're screwed. I think Will was asking Betway what the odds were for West Ham to finish outside the top 10. That's how panicked we were. But then Noble steps in, having been almost the scapegoat for a lot of poor performances and a lot of bad results, some of the bad results we've had this season, or the few bad results we've had this season. He steps in and put in a quality performance. Do you think that can be a consistent theme while Declan Rice is injured, or do you think he was just he wanted to go out there and prove himself from the off that he's still got it?
I think the system helped him. I mean, when the away game at Chelsea, when he played as the number 10, the game just passed him by. That was I would put that more on Moyes than Noble. He was in a position where he shouldn't be, where the Chelsea players found it too easy to get past him, and he doesn't have the legs to sprint 50 yards back chasing the players. And a couple of times last night, obviously Traore got away from him. That's going to happen. But he had. We had 3 men behind him, and he had Souček play deeper yesterday, and that's the deepest I'd seen him play. He didn't get forward. He obviously had one disallowed, and he had a half chance from a header from memory. I think it was in the first or second half. I can't really remember, but he wasn't in the box an awful lot, so he'd obviously been told to play a little bit deeper. And I think, Noble can absolutely do a job for the rest of the season or for however long Rice is out, if the system is set up to help him. And I think he needs he needs to know that he's got cover if somebody does get past him, and Souček to sit next to him. But I don't. Rice is a huge miss. Absolutely, of course he is. Don't think it's the end of the world, but yes, he's going to be a huge miss, and it'll be interesting to see against Leicester this coming weekend. I assume he'll play the 3 at the back or the 5 at the back. It is very fluid. It's something you notice when you get the whole picture. It is a very fluid system. We tried to pin it down a couple of times and say, oh, they're playing a 5 at the back, and then within 2 minutes, Masuaku is the furthest man forward, and then. It is fluid. It's very much a 5 in defence, but then 3. The wing backs do have a lot of license to get forward, and like when Diop in the first half he collected the ball, he went on a run, and Noble just there's no communication needed. Noble just right, I'm sitting in covering for him. That's that sorted, and that's something that maybe Declan Rice wouldn't do as much because he's also got the legs to get forward, knowing that he's got the pace to get back. Whereas Noble isn't going to make that run if one of the defenders has gone in front of him. He's there just holding that position or screaming at Diop to not even think about it. And not sure what your policy is on industrial language here, but it was quite funny, and it was in injury time, and it was Diop made this. It was a lovely interception, laid it off, and he was gone. And then just these 2 voices were on at him, and his run did not get past that halfway line, and they were having absolutely none of it. And they told him that you're not doing that. Who were the voices? Noble and Dawson. was right on at him in the first half as well. There was a cross came in, and he wasn't tight enough to his man, and. It was the far side of the pitch, and we didn't have any screens or any replays yesterday, so I wasn't sure what he'd done wrong, and I tweeted it out because Dawson was going absolutely nuts at him, but somebody replied saying no, he was just a metre off his man, that it should have been him, and Dawson doesn't hold back. It doesn't matter who you are. He did it to Lingard a couple of weekends ago as well. He was really positive the first time he was screaming at him, just come on, Jesse, lad, we need your help. And then 30 seconds later, he hadn't got back, and he went both barrels at him. It's funny to hear, especially when you're in the London Stadium and you are quite far away from them. But yeah, that voice travels round.
Tom, having the luxury to be around the players and sort of see their celebrations, see their togetherness more than any of us who can't go to the games and see what it's like at the end of those big victories. Do you think that now they're starting to genuinely believe that there's something special, and that there's a feeling that it might be our time to do something special? Because they're very mellow in the press, and keep it very casual, but we are 4th with 8 games to go. And if I'm not wrong, I think we've got 6 of the bottom 8 left to play, which is better than anyone else around us. And I think we don't really get to see those reactions. What do you think from the camp? Do you think that they're starting to truly believe now that this is our year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've been told, that they're very media trained, and I think they've been told not to. And Moyes has even said to us, is like, we've asked a question. He said, even if I did think that, I wouldn't say it to you, but that doesn't mean I'm not saying it to them. Kind of suggests that he is probably, and has been for a few weeks now. I'm not saying maybe he wasn't saying Champions League, but he was probably saying to them, look, we've got a very, very good chance of Europe here, and then when we get to 8, 9, 10 games to go, if we're still in the mix, then possibly Champions League. I think one thing he does say, and I do agree with him, that even though West Ham are 4th right now, if they were to drop a couple of places, finish 6th and finish in the Europa League, it's still a brilliant season. Like it might feel a little bit disappointing, but it really shouldn't. It's already West Ham have exceeded all expectations. Like the points tally alone is way above what it was. But yeah, I think the players are starting to believe. I think they have believed for a while. They've got guys in there in Soufal and Souček. It was quite a pointed comment Moyes said a few weeks ago. Like, these guys are used to winning. They win the league in the Czech Republic all the time. They're used to Champions League football. And Soufal is an awful, awful loser. He is absolutely devastated every time they lose, even if it's Manchester City, where played really well and lost 2-1. I thought West Ham were going to get absolutely hammered there, not because West Ham aren't a good team, just because Man City are brilliant. I thought City would put a few goals on them. I really did, and I said it before. I fully expected. We do these predictors, and I had that absolutely down as a Man City win, and I was really excited to go to the game because I wanted to watch the likes of Kevin De Bruyne play football. It's a privilege to watch players and watch someone like him. He didn't actually have a very good game, but the chance to see players like that. But Soufal was devastated at the final whistle, and And that's such a good attitude to have. Lingard, he's used to playing Man United. They don't lose many games. He's scoring in cup finals. You know, he's used to winning as well. I think there's an attitude there that, this, if not now, then when? Like, you know, is this season going to be repeated next year? You know, can't say with any honesty it is.
No, well, that's I think what we're all hoping for. I think bigger picture wise, but West Ham fans want to see us challenging for Europe, not necessarily the Champions League. I think Jamie Carragher touched on it in Sky on the coverage the other night. He said, you know, the West Ham fans, they don't think they should be in the Champions League every year, but that club should be challenging for Europe every year. So either that is the Europa League, and that is what fans want. So, you know, I think anything dropping down to anything below 10th next season won't be acceptable. But I think definitely strike while the iron's hot and while momentum's in your favour. Tom, it's been brilliant to have you with us for the first time. Just before we let you go, just give us a bit of a look ahead now. We've done all the looking back, just to look ahead between now and the end of the season, about your thoughts on whether you think West Ham can do it, and what do you think will happen with Lionel Messi at the end of the season? Reports suggesting United want 40 million quid for him. We paid sums in excess of that for Felipe Anderson and Sebastian Haller. So if you're asking me, I'm saying pay it. But what do you think will happen for West Ham by the end of the season, and with the Lingard situation?
So we have a little predictor gadget that goes up on the website every week or so, and you go through every game, every match till the end of the season. And I've done it a couple of times, and both times I've had West Ham finishing 5th. But on both occasions, I've put the games with Leicester and Chelsea down as draws. And a win against Leicester, and then my prediction would then change, and it would be West Ham in 4th. It's that close. Like I had them. I think the first time I did it, I had them finishing 5th, but on goal difference. And the second time I did it, it was 5th, but by points. So that was with draws in those two games. There's news out from Leicester that excuse the pronunciation, I think it's Soyuncu, their centre back. He's out this weekend. He had a COVID test, so it's obviously Rice picked up an injury on international duty, but other clubs have picked up issues on international duty as well. I think it's going to be really, really close. I really do, and I've said 5th a couple of times. But this time next week, if there's 3 points in the bag against Leicester, then I'll probably come on and say, 4th, why not, lads? But I'll stick with what I've done a couple of times, because, as I say, I've been through every game twice, and I did have them winning against Wolves on both of those occasions. So I'm sticking with 5th, but I mean, I really do want 4th. It would be absolutely brilliant to have some Champions League football there next season. And Champions League, Lingard guaranteed comes back. That's no inside information. That's just an opinion. I think it'd be too good to turn down for him. Europa League, I think he wants to join. It's a catch-22. The better he plays, the higher his price goes, because there was no option to buy put in the clause. And I don't think that's something you can blame the board for. I think that came from Man United's end. I think they knew that if he does well, then they can put the price up, but also there'll be other teams who are interested in him. There's rumours a few weeks ago about Leicester, and it's one of those things. If West Ham finish 5th and Leicester finish 3rd and they come in for him, you could understand. You could understand him wanting to make that move. But then he's also got 6 months down here where he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He loves the players. He loves the team. He's back in the England squad. If it's proved to him that he can reach his goals at West Ham, which is brilliant. And it's going to be expensive. I don't think 40 million is going to be realistic, because he's got 12 months on his contract at the end of this season. I think those reports come out, and it's a bargaining chip, and it will. There'll be to and fro in over the summer, but I think a deal will be done. And I've heard it from a couple of guys I know who are very close, at West Ham. They've got really good sources and stuff, and they have said that Lingard wants to come, that the club want him to come, and it is just striking a deal with Man United. And I don't think it's going to be 15, 16 million, but I also don't think it's going to be 40. I think if you're looking somewhere around the 25 million pound mark, it's a deal that's got to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, well, it's been absolutely brilliant to have you on. I think that debut, lads, wouldn't you agree, is about as good as Jesse Lingard's was for West Ham. Absolutely wonderful to have you join us, Tom. Hopefully won't be for the first, but definitely not the last time. It'd be great to have you on towards the end of the season as the run-in hots up. Hope you enjoy the next few games. It sounds like you have been so far. And I think that's it, everyone. All the Football.London readers have already forgotten about Sam Minkato, and other We Are West Ham listeners have done exactly the same. Tom Clark there, West Ham correspondent for Football.London. Thanks so much for joining us. And